People who hate depending on others usually hide this fear. Everyone calls you strong, independent, low maintenance, and you've let them believe it. But hating to depend on others isn't strength. It never was. It's a fear so old, so familiar, that it stopped feeling like fear. It started feeling like personality. You don't ask for help. You don't lean on people. You figure it out alone at 2 a.m. before you'd ever send that one text. And somewhere underneath all of that, there's something you've never said out loud. You're not afraid of needing people. You're afraid of what happens when you do. But where does this come from? Picture a child who learned early that needing something created a problem. They asked and got silence. They cried and got irritation. Someone promised to show up and didn't. So that child made a quiet decision, a logical one at the time. If I need nothing, I can't be let down. They stopped asking. They started handling. They got very, very good at doing everything alone. That child was you, and the lesson stayed long after the situation that taught it was gone. You do it in small ways nobody notices. You carry everything in one trip because making two feels like admitting you needed help. You figure out the parking, the directions, the bill before anyone offers. When someone asks, "Do you need anything?" you've already said no before the sentence finished. It doesn't feel like fear. It feels like efficiency, like being prepared, like not being a burden. But there's a rule running underneath all of it, a rule that says, handle it yourself or pay for it later. You didn't write that rule consciously, you inherited it, and you've lived by it so long it doesn't feel like a rule anymore. It feels like who you are. But here's the thing, character and conditioning feel identical from the inside. You're not independent because you love doing things alone. You're independent because depending felt dangerous once, and part of you never got the memo that things changed. But here's what nobody tells you. Someone does something for you, unexpectedly, genuinely, and instead of relief, something tightens in your chest. You smile, you say thank you, but underneath that, there's a low hum of discomfort you can't quite name. Why does someone helping you feel like a threat? Because your nervous system learned early that help comes with a cost, that kindness gets withdrawn, that people who step in also step out. So when someone offers something real, your first instinct isn't gratitude, it's suspicion. What do they want? How long will this last? What happens when they stop? You don't say this out loud. You've probably never even thought it this clearly, but your body already knows it. That's why being cared for feels harder than caring for yourself. You'd rather exhaust yourself than be surprised by someone leaving. And this is where it gets darker. Have you ever noticed that you can handle almost anything as long as you're the one handling it? That's not coincidence. That's control. When you do everything yourself, you know exactly what to expect. No variables, no waiting, no watching someone's face to see if your need is too much, no sitting with the vulnerability of having asked and not knowing what comes back. Psychologists call this a hyperactivated autonomy response, the brain protecting itself from unpredictable people by removing people from the equation entirely. In plain terms, if I don't need you, you can't fail me. You're not afraid of being weak. You're afraid of handing someone the specific power to disappoint you. So you never hand it over. You built an entire identity around not needing to, and it works, until it doesn't. It's not independence, it's armor. The real reason goes even deeper. Remember that image, 2 a.m., you figuring it out alone, no text sent, no one called, and you solved it. For a second, you felt proud. Then came something quieter, a specific kind of emptiness that lives in the gap between I did it and I did it alone. Again, stay with me. This next part is the hardest truth. The same system protecting you from disappointment is also blocking the one thing you actually want, to feel genuinely close to someone. Real closeness requires the risk of needing. It requires letting someone show up for you and finding out they will. But you never let the test happen. You've gotten so good at not needing that the people around you genuinely think you're fine. They stop offering, they step back, and then you feel invisible. But you built the wall that made you invisible. But wait, there's something worse. Here's what years of self-sufficiency quietly does. You stop knowing what you need, not because nothing bothers you, because you trained yourself so thoroughly to handle everything alone that the signal between I'm struggling and I'm fine gets blurry. You push through, you manage, you don't sit with the weight long enough to feel it clearly. And then someone asks, "Are you okay? What do you need right now?" And you go completely blank. Not because the answer is nothing, because you genuinely lost the ability to locate it. You're not protecting yourself from other people. You're hiding from yourself, too. Nothing is wrong with you. You were never broken. You were just never given a safe enough place to need anything. So you dismantled the wanting entirely. That's not strength. That's survival. And there's a difference. Most people never see this part. You've probably told yourself you just have high standards, that you prefer people who respect your space, that you've outgrown relationships that felt too needy, too messy, too much. But think about the last time someone got genuinely close to you. What did you do? You got quieter, more careful. You started managing the version of yourself they saw. Maybe you pulled back slightly, not enough to notice, just enough to feel safe. Maybe the relationship slowly cooled on your end without you ever deciding to cool it. You've been calling this discernment, but it's distance. You don't push people away dramatically. You just never fully let them in. And then you feel alone inside a relationship that looks fine from the outside, and you can't explain why. You don't lack love. You're terrified of what love costs, which is this: the total loss of control over whether someone stays. Here's where it gets personal. There's a moment most people never reach, when the exhaustion of carrying everything alone gets heavier than the fear of putting some of it down. You might be at that moment now. The fear doesn't disappear when you recognize it, but recognition does one thing. It turns the automatic into a choice. You're no longer just running an old program. You can see the code. And the choice looks like this: one small moment of letting someone in. Not everything, one thing. Ask for something small and watch what happens. Let someone show up once and then notice what happens. You survived every moment of doing it alone. You'll survive this too. Not because needing people is easy, because it's the most human thing you've been afraid of. And you've already survived much harder. So what actually helps? 3 things. The first is name the fear, not the behavior. Stop calling it "I prefer independence." Start saying "I'm afraid of needing someone and being disappointed." That one shift changes everything, inside and outside. The second is small exposure. Vulnerability doesn't start with big confessions. It starts with one text that says, "Actually, can you help me with this?" Let someone show up once, and then notice what happens. The third is grieve the original wound. Somewhere a version of you needed help and didn't get it. Acknowledging that isn't weakness. It's the beginning of the armor coming off. You came here thinking your independence was your identity. You leave knowing it was your armor. There's a difference. Somewhere inside you, it's still 2 a.m., still solving, still carrying, still refusing to send the text. That version of you is exhausted and brave and wrong about one thing: that needing someone makes you less. It doesn't. It makes you honest. You don't have to dismantle everything overnight. Just let one person once carry something small. See what happens when the wall comes down an inch. Which one are you? Someone who never asks for help, or someone who learned not to? Drop it below. And if this hit close, the next video goes even deeper into why the most emotionally guarded people are often the most deeply feeling.